Hello and welcome. I am your host, Andrew Schaefer. I'm a teacher at Spanish Springs High School, Marshall County School District. Today, we're going to be looking at creating homework assignments on ALEKS. So I've logged into ALEKS here. I'm in my class. This is a class with no students, so we don't have any uh, personal information here. From the main page here, if we want to create homework assignments, we need to go to our Assignments tab, and under here to Manage Assignments. Okay, this is going to bring up our assignments list. Right now it's empty. We haven't created any assignments. The initial knowledge check is created by ALEKS automatically. If we want to add a new assignment, we go up here to New Assignment. And this drop down gives us the types of assignments we can add. So we're going to do homework today. Note the homework, quiz, and test have all the same options. So if you want to create quizzes and tests, it's the same process. You would just select different options in those. So we're going to talk just about homework. I'll have a future video where we talk about time, topic, and duplicating from another class. And that's an easy way to copy homework. So make sure to check that one out if you're interested in the other types of assignments. For now, we're just going to go ahead and click New Assignment Homework. All right, so we have at the very top, we have our name and date. This is kind of our basic information. So you can rename this to whatever you want. If you want it to match a section, say we'll call it homework 1-2. Our status enabled means the students are able to actually get in and do that. Our start date is when it's going to show up as being assigned for them. So I have my default settings here, and I'll show you at the end how to set these default settings. So my default settings show that the assignments all will start at 8 a.m. Since that's our school day start time. And then they'll end by default at 11:59 p.m., so just before midnight. And then I can choose the start date and the due date. So let's say I want to give them, if we start it today, I want to give them 2 days to do it, or rather 3 days. They'll have the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. Do that. Our time limit for assignments, for homework, I don't usually set this. This is something you can use for quizzes or tests. And then allow students to save this assignment for later and go back to learning mode. Lets them kind of pause where they're at and come back and complete the assignment. And then publish this homework to student calendar, I think is important. This way it shows up on their calendar in ALEKS. They can see what they have. So those are our name and date settings. The next section is content. This is where we're actually going to select the questions for the homework. So up top, the kind of quick and easy way to do this is we can just randomly add a number of questions. So let's say we want 6 questions on this assignment, and we said this is going to be from 1-2. So because I have this ALEKS course tied to the book, it's easy. This drop down just shows me everything by section. So I can click 1-2, and when I click add, that will add some questions here. If you don't have your course set to the textbook, you'll want to check out my previous video that shows us how to select the textbook for your ALEKS course. That will enable you, again, this drop down will then be by section in the book rather than just by general topic. So once I've selected lesson 1-2, that's what I want. We'll get 6 random questions. I'll go ahead and hit add. And we see pops down here in the assignment on the right hand side. This is what the assignment looks like. We have 6 different types of questions that it pulled from the types of questions under this section here. Okay, I can move these around. I can drag and drop. I can select one, go up and down, and kind of do that. The order of these questions doesn't really matter. Students are allowed to go through and do any of the questions at once. They can go to question 4, then they go to question 2, and go to question 6. So I usually don't mess around with these. If you want to randomize for, say, a quiz or a test, you can hit the shuffle, and that just kind of randomizes them into a different order there. Okay, let's say we want to find specific questions, though. We don't want to just do these random 6. I want to actually go in and pick the questions that I'm going to give them. So I can select all the questions, hit remove, and I see I have no more questions in my assignment now. I can go over to the left-hand side here where I'm looking by the table of contents, select we're in chapter 1, and then down here I'll go to lesson 1-2. And I can see under 1-2 there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 types of questions. So when I picked randomly 6, I only got 6 of those 8 at most. And so again, I can find here I want to give them a question on segment addition. We'll add that. You can also drag from the left to the right. That's my preferred method. So now they've got 2 questions on segment addition, a question on computing the distance, and a question on exact answers and identifying congruent segments. So let's give them 5 questions just for something here. Now, if you're looking at these and you want to know what that question actually looks like, what is introduction to segment addition? What kind of a question will that be? Right over here, you can click the preview button, and that brings you up an actual sample problem with some sample numbers and everything. And so you see, this is the exact question your students would be asked. So it's segment addition, right? They give you a length for the full segment and then a partial length here, and you're asking them to find the missing length. If you also want to click the explanation up here, this is the explanation they would see on how to solve this problem, along with the answer for this particular problem. And if you're not sure what's going to be randomized, how the problems are different for each student, you can click show another, and that's going to generate another randomized question. And you'll see, so the points on the line segment are randomly generated as well as the lengths on that. Again, you could look at an explanation for this type of question. They would say, here's how you're going to do that. They show them setting up the equation, plugging in the values, and then solving. So again, you could do that preview for any of these. Like say this one here, distance between 2 points in a plane, exact answers versus decimal answers. If you preview this one, you'll see this says give an exact answer, not a decimal approximation. So this will ask them to leave their answer as a radical. In the explanation, you'll see that as well. Our answer is root 34. Where the decimal answer, same type of question, but it's going to ask them to round to a specific place. So again, if you want them to work on rounding and have that, or you like to have your students round, you could choose this one. If you want them to give the exact answer as a radical, you could choose the other one, or you could choose a combination of both. So again, they have to work on that skill of reading the question and knowing how to put their answer in the correct form. So that's the general on seeing what the types of questions are. You don't have to stick to one lesson. You can pull from other sections as well. You can mix and match these all you want. Find these. Once you have these, you'll see on the last step here on the right-hand side, we have 7 total questions, and each question by default is worth 1 point. Let's say we have this construction one is really, really important for us for some reason. So we'll make it worth 4 points. The other ones are worth 1, and this one's weighted a little bit higher, so I really want to make sure the students can earn the points on that one. And these other ones, they're all kind of equally important, weighted here for that. So again, we can see that now our total points is 10, and our questions is still 7. Your scores in ALEKS that you're going to receive on their score report are always a percentage. So it's always out of 100%. On this, so changing your total points, it calculates based on these weights here, and will give you a percentage, whether it's 68, 72, 59. So again, changing these points is a way to weight the individual questions within that percentage on it. You cannot get the report as a score out of points. It's always going to be a percentage. So this total points doesn't really matter. It's just the weights between your points here. As we continue on the content settings, for homework, we'll allow the example, the explanation, and the message center. This allows students to look at an example problem, a problem that has the same type of question but different numbers than the one they're given. The explanation lets them actually see the solution to their problem, the ones they were given. But once they look at the explanation, they have to try a different question with new numbers. So it doesn't actually let them cheat and see the answers and plug those answers in. It will mark the question wrong if they click on the explanation, and they have to try it again with a new question. And then this down here, attempts, how many question attempts they can have. You can go unlimited, 1, 2, up to 9 on this. We'll look at this in a future video on what the students see and how this impacts it here. I usually like to choose at least 2 question attempts so that way they can get an explanation and then attempt the question again with new values. And then assignment attempts, the same thing. You could do it just 1 attempt on the entire assignment, which takes away your retake options. You could do 5 attempts, or you could do unlimited attempts. So this lets them try it as many times as they want in that. On all these attempts, you're going to have a couple of options. Your first option is full retake, where students retake the entire assignment, have to work on all the problems again, and you can select either to keep the best score of all their attempts, the final score, their latest attempt, or average the scores of all their attempts. If you do quick retake, which I like personally for assignments, for homework, this only makes them go back and do the ones they got wrong. So any problems they got correct, it won't make them retake those. The only option with that is best score. So again, they're improving their score with each retake. Their score will not go down. It won't be an average of those. So again, you can choose what you like best for your students in your class. Allow late submission. If you check this box, this gives them an extension beyond the due date. So on their calendar, it will list the due date we set above as the day that this is due, but it will let them continue to work on it or submit it past due up until this final submission date. And again, you can set your times. If you want to apply a penalty and have ALEKS apply that penalty for you, say if they turn it in late, they have a 10% deduction, you can go ahead and do that right here. If you don't want to apply a penalty or you're going to do it manually, you can uncheck that, and this just allows the late submission for full credit. Set prerequisite assignment is to, if you want to kind of control the order in which students go through things. So you say this assignment needs to be done after a previous assignment, you would select this here and select your other assignment. Since I don't have any other assignments, I can't find a prerequisite right now. In general, I don't use this. I let students work on whichever assignments they want in whichever order. But if you were setting these up in a way where you want to make sure they've gone through a previous assignment first, you can use that prerequisite assignment. The gradebook settings, I like to keep this last one, or this first one, I should say. Students show student score and reports after assignment submission. This, when they submit their assignment, they will see their score, the percentage they got, and a report of what their answers they got correct, the answers they got wrong, and the correct answers. So they'll see all of those things. If you don't want them to see the correct answers and the ones they got right and wrong, and you just want them to see their score, that's the last one here. They'll see their score after each submission, but they won't see the questions they got right and wrong and the actual answers. Then they can retake it and do that. Or if you want for like a test, again, these settings are all the same for quizzes and tests. If you want to hold all the scores and reports until after the assignment due date so that everyone's had a chance to complete the test before they get their scores back, then this will hold on to it until after that due date passes. And then they'll be able to go in and see their score and their report. I personally, again, for the homeworks, I like this first option. I always keep ALEKS assigning partial credit. Some questions have multiple parts, so I'll have a part A, B, C, and D, and that lets student earn partial credit for getting parts of the problem correct, and they don't have to get the entire thing correct. Our advanced options prevent automatic knowledge checks. So ALEKS will, after I think 10 hours of work, will assign a knowledge check for students to see and figure out where they've improved from their previous knowledge checks. So I like to keep this option on. I just use 2 days by default. This keeps them, once they get into a knowledge check, they have to complete the knowledge check before they go on to their assignments and their work. So this keeps them from getting kind of locked out of assignments by getting into a knowledge check. So they'll only get assigned knowledge checks when they don't have upcoming assignments. On that. So if you have a few days between assignments, they might be asked to do a knowledge check if they log in. Otherwise, they won't be asked to do a knowledge check right before the assignment comes up. And you can, again, you can move that up or down. I think 2 days I found works really well on that. Assign to the entire class. So generally we assign all the assignments to the entire class. You can assign to specific students if you are creating an assignment to make up some work from a missed day in class or something for a specific student. you would have an option here of selecting your students. I don't have any students enrolled in this course. In general, I'll assign the homework to the entire class. Our last two options are when they can start it. I always keep this first one. Students can choose when to start the assignment. For the homeworks, again, this is they can work at their own pace and they can work on whichever one they want. For your tests and your quizzes, you might have them take the assignment as soon as it is available. So they need to take that assignment and get it done. They have a small window, and so you want to ensure that they do that. Or if you're having them do it in class, all at the same time, you might check this. So as soon as they log in class, they are working on that assignment or that quiz or that test. So you know they're not goofing around in other parts of it or working in other areas of ALEKS. And if you want to add a security, you can do the require password and type in a password. I've never used this option. Again, most of the students are working at home, and I don't need to control their access. They can work on it independently at their own pace. This last section, the grading scale, it has our default grading scale. It lets you decide what kind of ALEKS reports as their grade based on a thing. I never use this. I just leave it as a default. And you'll see in this next section, I select the option not to show letter grades. So I don't even show letter grades. I'm not assigning them a grade on this. When I take the scores and put them in Infinite Campus, that will be where the letter grade is impacted. So I personally just leave this first one. If you want to show letter grades, you can select one of the other options and you could move these down if you have a different scale for the letter grades for these. Again, in general, I've never used this. I keep no letter grades on report, so they'll just see their percentage. And if you've got your settings, all the settings you like, this is how you set your default settings. You could click apply these settings to all future assignments in the homework category. This will set any future homeworks with these default settings, so you don't have to go around and this changes much. That's where I have that 8 a.m. start time, the midnight end time, and the kind of my defaults here. Since I already like my defaults, I'm not going to apply this. I've made some changes and things. And then to create the assignment, just go ahead and hit save. All right, here we go. Now you can see we have homework 1-2. It's got a start and our end date. We can open. We've got a few options. We can edit, we could preview, we can print and delete. So if you go in here to print, and you can do the same thing if you highlight over and click the print here. This allows you to create a hard copy version for students that maybe don't have access or need to work on it in class. And then it generates 5 versions with random numbers for all those variables. So you can print up to 5 different versions, choose one, and then generate the PDF. The PDF, when it loads here, it takes just a minute to generate. When it loads, it has questions followed by the answers. So if you're assigning this to students and you want them to work on it, make sure you print this off and keep the answer section here to check. If you want to give it to them with both the questions and the answers, say for a study guide or something, then that's fine. Just to be aware of that, if you make this PDF and email it to students, they're going to have both the questions and the answers in this preview. Again, this is one of the 5 versions that it created. So you can create 5 different versions to assign to different students so that there's some variation in their work. And then to get back to see our assignments, we would just go to Assignments, Manage Assignments. And we'll see the assignment we created here. All right, so that's everything on creating new homework assignments. Again, quizzes and tests have the exact same options and you do them the same process. I'll usually choose different settings, maybe set a time limit or some other things for a quiz or a test that change the number of attempts. Join me next time. We will have a video on creating time goals, topic goals, and duplicating from another class. And then in a future video, I'll show again what the assignments look like for students and how some of those choices impact the students in terms of their question attempts and their assignment attempts. All right, thank you for watching. This has been Andrew Schaefer. I am a teacher at Spanish Springs High School, Washoe County School District. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, an option you want more information on, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is andrew.schaefer@washoeschools.net. That's ANDREW@washoeschools.net. Thank you and have a nice day.